Good evening and welcome to the special meeting of the Town Council and School Committee on August 12th, 2025 at 5 p.m. I'll call the Town Council meeting to order and I'll ask that the School Committee Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will call the school committee meeting to order as well, 5 o'clock.
Thank you. Then I would ask that we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to ask we take a quick moment of silence to reflect on all of the events. Thank you. In accordance with Mass General Law, this meeting is being recorded by LCAT, and if there's anyone else in the audience, if you identify yourself. Seeing none. Our first order of business is to approve under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 23B3, an exemption for Kathy Hill to participate in the process for school committee vacancy.
We'll move.
Motion has a second.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those, it's a roll call since Kathy's remote. Jim?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ralph?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Tammy, yes. Anna?
Yes.
And then it's up to you if you.
Do you need us to move on that and forward?
No,
actually, we need to.
It's just the council vote.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Okay.
Motion passes. Okay. Our first order and only order of business for the special meeting is to fill the vacancy per the town charter for the school. And so just as a quick recap for the public, there was a vacancy on the school committee. And so within 30 days of that vacancy, both the town council and the school committee members have to meet to fill that vacancy with someone. And so we've sent out an advertisement both in the reminder on the town's Facebook page and the town website seeking applicants for the position. And we received 5 letters of interest. Once those were received, we will now hold interviews this evening with each of the candidates. Each candidate will have approximately 10 minutes, during which time they can provide a brief overview about themselves and their background. A few questions will be asked of them. And then at the end, we'll hopefully have about 10 minutes to deliberate and nominate and appoint someone to fill that vacancy. Does anyone have any questions on the process? Okay, seeing none, we'll start with our first candidate, Kathy Hood. Good evening.
Good evening.
So just as a quick reminder, each candidate will have about 10 minutes and we'll start with a brief 2-minute introduction that you can take to introduce yourself to the council and provide any background about yourself that you wish to convey to all of us. And then we'll ask a series of 3 to 5 questions and then we'll close.
Okay. All right. My name is Kathy Hood. I'm a lifelong resident of East Long Meadow and a graduate of East Long Meadow High School, actually 50 years next year. So I've been a teacher in education for 37 years, 32 of which were in Birchland Park Middle School here in East Long Meadow. Most of you sitting around the table know me as just the teacher, but I did do a lot of other variety of roles or carried a lot of variety of roles while I was there. I was the department chair for 20 plus years. Sometimes it was just grades 6 through 8. Other years, toward the end of my career, it went from 6 to 12. Primarily creating the budget, making sure the money's spent, developing curriculum were the biggest things that I did. There was a short period of time where I wrote grants for the town of East Long Meadow. That was federal monies. I worked very closely with Assistant Superintendent at the time, Terry Olajars. We'd configure the grants. We'd make sure we stayed within the parameters. We'd spend out the money. Some of the money was paid for salaries for teachers. Others were supplies, programs, etc. I was the vice president and grievance chairperson of the East Long Meadow Education Association for 20 plus years. I also was on the contract negotiation team for 20 plus years, negotiating contracts with the school committee, representing Unit A, which is teacher union, and Unit E, which was peer professionals. I sat on the principal advisory council, which was at that time the site-based level leadership team at Birchland Park. I truly was blessed with a career in East Long Meadow that brought me great joy. And in June, I was humbled to be inducted into the East Long Meadow Educator Hall of Fame. Presently, I also sit on the East Long Meadow High School Athletic Hall of Fame Committee and have been on it since the inception. And so our main purpose is to induct outstanding athletes that graduated from East Long Meadow High School. So if you've been in the high school anywhere near the gymnasium, you'll see our plaques on the wall. That's the end of the show of our hard work that we do. I'm an active member in the St. Michael's Church, and presently I do sit on a subcommittee of the town council. Why I would be interested in this, people say you're crazy. No, I'm retired now and I have more time. I'm a doer and a hard worker. I'm committed to this community. I love East Long Meadow. My 37 years in education and all the other things that I did besides being the teacher, I feel provide me with the skills that I can offer something to the roles and responsibilities of being on the school committee.
Great. Thank you for your introduction. And we can move to the questions.
Thank you for being here, Kathy. I'll start with the first question. What do you see as the core purpose of the public school system, and what is the primary responsibility of a school committee in that purpose?
Primary responsibility of a schools committee is to create policies, make sure that they're followed, to hire and fire superintendents, to evaluate our education programs. So what was the first part of your question?
Speak to what you see as the core purpose of a public school system.
So public school system has to be holistic for every student that might come through the doors. And the role of the school committee is to make sure that that happens, that we create a safe environment for kids, that we show inclusivity with our students. And I mean, it kind of, the school committee sits up here, but all that gets filtered down to where the grind happens in a classroom. So besides the other things that they do, but that would be one of them.
Great.
Me?
Yeah.
Hi, Kathy. How would you approach making decisions in areas where your personal values or biases may conflict with the values of the broader community? I'm sorry, the broader school community.
Are you asking me like if I didn't agree with the decision or?
No, I know in fairness, we all have certain values that we strive to keep. Maybe those values are in agreement with others, maybe they're not. And so the idea would be, how would you approach decisions in areas where your personal values or biases may conflict with the values of the broader school community?
Well, you shouldn't be bringing your personal values in there if it's for the good of the child sitting in front of you or the betterment of the community. So I guess I wouldn't tangle with, I don't know if I would even need to share my personal values if it's for the broader people that we're talking about. Is that what the question's asking? It's kind of confusing in a way. Like, are we talking about one student? Are we talking about all the students? Or, when you're making decisions, you can't bring in your personal values. You have to look at what is the decision that we're making? What do we want the outcome to look like? And the decision, or why are we making this decision? For the betterment of whom? Is it for the student? Is it for a school? Just one school? Is it for a group of people? So, yeah, I mean, as a teacher, none of that ever I never ever even went there. Your personal values are your personal values that you were taught through your family or whatever. Like I used to say to my kids all the time, you're not born prejudiced. It's a learned behavior. And so anything like that stays out, it's for the betterment of the good of the population.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good.
So my question, based on, so the school committee can face a lot of pressures from interest groups or wider political debates and even difficult budget constraints. So how would you prepare yourself to make informed decisions or issues that you're not necessarily expert in?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Thank you.
I'm one of those people that I stay in my lane. So when I don't understand something, I ask a ton of questions, try to talk to a lot of people. When we're talking just finances, yeah, well, you have to start with the needs of each building. Because not each building's unique and they don't necessarily have the same needs. So you have to kind of start down there and work your budget up from there. I mean, we just had not a good year budget wise, and I worry about what the future brings. I was in East Long Meadow when I want to say it was like 2004 when was the last rift I think we had, and we lost 17 positions. So, when we're looking forward to a budget, what you lost, trying to get it back. So, you need to get the stakeholders at the table, find out what are the needs so that students aren't at risk now, are going to go without something, when we start cutting programs. That's always a thing that always bothered me. Like, we didn't cut that this year, but, like we cut music, say, and there's a student that could be sitting in front of you and that's the only class they actually love and like, you know what I mean? It just, how do we keep everybody happy and give each child what they need and meet them where they're at?
It sounds like my sound is coming in and out. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Kathy, I have the next question, and that is, as you likely know, that Superintendent Smith is retiring at the end of this upcoming school year in June of 2026, which begs the responsibility of the school committee to conduct a professional search for his replacement. So the question is this: what qualities would you look for in a new superintendent?
Well, I would like to see the new superintendents have already done several leadership roles. It would be great to see teacher, come up through the ranks that way, but that doesn't always happen. Someone who is well-trained, has a lot of experience is big for me. That's the biggest thing. I'd also like to see, well, we're building a new high school. So whoever comes in, just because the door's open for, fall of 2026, that's not a done building project. I sat on the Birchland Park one. That paperwork goes on for another 2 years. So maybe somebody that has an idea of what to do with that. Just their background. I'm glad to hear we're going to use some kind of a help to look for whoever may be replacing Gordon Smith. I would be very interested in what their leadership was. Multiple things that they have been in charge of, or groups of people, and having some kind of, strong decision making can have a relationship with the school committee that has a relationship with our town council. Maybe even the people that represent East Long Meadow in our, state government that can help us find money or whatever's out there, that can reach out and get us what we might need here.
Thank you.
Well, Kathy, thank you. You've come to the end of the interview process. On behalf of the school committee and the town council, certainly thank you for your interest and your participation. As you know, there are 5 people that have shown interest. We are ecstatic about that. We are not ecstatic that we only get to pick one. I'm sure all 5 will be, worthy of a selection. I would encourage all applicants to continue their volunteer efforts. I know you already do in many aspects, so thank you for that. And either way, however it goes tonight,
Okay.
we'll carry on together.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank all of you for all your hard work. I do appreciate it.
And if we wait for the transition, our next candidate will be Katie Freeman. Good evening.
Everybody,
Thank you for coming.
thank you for having me.
As a quick recap of the process, we have about 10 minutes for each interview. You'll have the first 2 minutes to offer any remarks that you wish to inform us about your background, anything related to you. And then we'll start with a series of 3 or 4 questions, and then we will wrap up the interview.
Okay. So just to introduce myself, my name is Katie Freeman. I've been a resident of East Long Meadow since 2020. I moved here August 2020. I am going into my 23rd year as a teacher in the Springfield Public Schools. I've taught grades 6 through 12 at large schools, small schools, and I've taught pullout classes, advanced IB classes. So I have a very broad educational knowledge. I'm also the mother of 2 boys that are in the East Long Meadow schools. My youngest is a student at Meadowbrook. My oldest son is a student at Mapleshade. Also, one of my children is on an IEP, so I've dealt with the special education system and what parents go through with getting IEPs. And so I've been on the parent side of that, but I've also sat through many an IEP meeting as a teacher. I wrote some things down, so. So I said I'm a dedicated community member. I'm a parent of 2 children that are currently enrolled in our schools. I'm an experienced educator and leader. I have a unique combination of firsthand experience, professional expertise, and a deep commitment to ensuring that every student receives an excellent education. My perspective allows me to balance fiscal responsibility, equity, and long-term strategic planning that best serve our student, staff, and our community. The 3 things that are most concerning to me are fiscal responsibility and how that is going to impact our students, equity, inclusion, and access for all of our students, and strategic planning for the future of the East Long Meadow schools. I've been very involved in the schools as a member of the PTO. Currently, I'm the president of the PTO at Mapleshade, and I'm the vice president of the PTO at Meadowbrook. I think as a parent, I have sort of a unique perspective that not just my educational background, but also I sort of see what's going on with my own children in the schools. I am very involved in sort of making a connection with the community and talking to different parents. I am involved in various activities through the PTO that gives me that sort of community connection that I really would like to build on and make sure that we have a lot of community input in the decisions we're making on the school committee. I have sat in many a meeting and talked with many parents who decisions are made, and we sort of all talk and we're like, where was our input on this decision that was made? So I would like to really increase community involvement in decisions the school committee makes.
Great, thank you.
Hi, Katie. Thank you for being here. The first question is, what do you see as the core purpose of a public school system? And what is the primary responsibility a school system plays in that core purpose?
The core purpose of a school system is to educate every single student that we have. It is very different in, private schools. They can choose the students that are coming to them. We don't choose the students that we are getting, but it's our responsibility to educate every student. Whether it's diversity, equity, inclusion are very important. And I want to make sure that every child in East Long Meadow is given the same opportunities to succeed as any other child, and that all of our schools are given the same opportunity to give children the ability to succeed.
Great.
Hi, Katie.
Hello.
How would you approach making decisions in areas where your personal values or biases may conflict with the values of the broader school community?
I think it's most important, and I do this as a teacher. Sometimes you have to take your own perspective out of things and look at it as for what's the common good, right? What is going to benefit the majority of people that the decision is going to impact? And I think, I think about that as a parent. I think about that as a taxpayer. I think about that as a teacher, that the decisions we're making are going to have an impact on all of those people. There are people that, live in East Long Meadow, that decisions are made financially about the schools and they don't have children enrolled in the schools and they have one view of things. There are, people who don't currently have children in the schools. And when we make decisions that are long-term, it's going to have a different impact depending on what your own perspective is. So I think sometimes you have to remove yourself from the situation a little bit and look at it. But I also think it's important that when it comes to your own morals and values, that you do go back to those things sometimes and sort of say, like, are we making a decision that is a financial decision, but maybe, morally it's not something that we want to, to lean into, and that sometimes you have to make decisions with your head, but sometimes your heart is also going to be involved in making those decisions.
Thank you.
Right. Hello, Kathy. Is it Kathy?
Katie.
Yeah, I apologize.
It's all right.
Yeah, bad eyes, please.
It happens all the time.
So my question, the school committee can face a lot of pressure from interest groups, wider political debates and difficult budget constraints. So the question is, how would you prepare yourself to make informed decisions on issues that you may not have expertise in?
I think really seeking out the information. I'm a history teacher. Research is like my thing. So I think seeking out the information in order to make an informed decision is important. And that's, again, where I talked about getting community input and really reaching out to the community and finding out what people really want and what people are thinking is really important when we make decisions. That just making decisions with, 5 people talking in a room is not necessarily the best way to make decisions, that we do need to figure out what is going on in the outside community and what people are looking for. So I think it's research and also collecting information from the community.
Perfect. Thanks.
Katie, I have the next question. It's okay.
I didn't know
You
you were
don't have, you don't have to turn around. As you probably are aware, Gordon Smith will be retiring at the end of this next school year, which will require the school committee to undertake a professional search to hire a new superintendent. So that said, what qualities would you look for in a new superintendent?
Oh, there's so many. I think the first one is that they have a strong background in teaching for me. I think too many times we have a lot of people who step into the role of leadership positions where they don't necessarily have the expertise and the background. And when you're in front of students, especially post-COVID, I think things have changed. And we really need somebody who, whether they were in the classroom or very actively engaged in what's going on with education currently, is important. I think it's important that they have a strong knowledge of union issues and negotiating contracts. And I think that that's going to be something that we really have to be concerned with, is that times are changing and attracting and keeping the best teachers is important, especially when we have budget constraints. And so I think that that's important. And I also think that they need to be a true leader. I've always believed in sort of the idea of like servant leadership, that the leader is really there to make sure that they're doing all the things necessary for the people below them to do their jobs to the best of their ability. So if I don't want sort of a top down telling everybody what to do. I really want it to be more, obviously they would be making the decisions, but making sure they're making the decisions that are for the best of the entire community and not just, as a power grab. And so I think really finding somebody that wants to work with the community, wants to work with the teachers, wants to work with parents and the broader community is really important.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, Katie, this is the end of the interview process. On behalf of the rest of the school committee and the town council members, thank you for your interest. No, we have five people who are interested, which is great news to see people wanting to be involved. However, it's a difficult decision because we only get to pick one today. I would encourage you, as I would everyone else, to continue with your efforts, volunteer. I know you said PTO, and we're very thankful that you continue to work at that aspect too. But thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Yeah.
You.
They don't.
I'm sorry, like, what's funny on?
All right.
It's funny. So brutal.
Hi, good evening.
Is it right here?
Yep. please.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, my name is Natalie Drgantis, for those of you that don't know me. I'm a lifelong resident of East Long Meadow, proud graduate of our public schools. I'm also a parent. I have a daughter who's going to first grade this year, and my son will be entering kindergarten next year. Professionally, I've worked as a physician assistant in the emergency room and urgent care for the past 12 years. I'm interested in joining the school committee because I want to give my kids and other students the same strong education that I had, while also addressing the modern challenges that we face today with social media.
Great. Thank you for the introduction.
Okay, that's the first question. The question is, what do you see as the core purpose of a public school system? And what is the primary responsibility in that core purpose?
Okay, so the primary responsibility of the school committee, I would say would be like shaping the school's policy, overseeing the budget. I think it's like we hire and something with the superintendent and making sure the district aligns with its goals, like the SMART goals that East Long Meadow has. As far as the other thing that you said was what?
How do you see the school committee? What role does the school committee kind of play in that greater core purpose of the school system?
So I think the school committee plays a vital role in, well, our public schools for one, and like with the SMART goals, with the whole child, like just making sure that the budget goes to allocating all the resources to the student, but making sure each student gets everything they need to be successful, to thrive, to graduate as like a responsible citizen, be resilient. Like I attribute my public education here in East Long Meadow, me being a PA, to the strong school system that it was then, which it still is, but.
Yep. Great.
Hi, Nat. How would you approach making decisions in areas where your personal values or biases may conflict with the values of the broader school community?
I think the first thing I would do would be to listen to everyone involved, gather all the facts, ask questions, keeping the students in mind, like keeping the students at center, like they're the shared goal, like that's the purpose. Even if we disagree on something, in the end, but all have common ground with the students being the center.
Thank you.
Hello, Kathy. I mean, Natalie, I'm off today. I was in PD. No. So my question is, so the school committee, can face a lot of pressures from interest groups and wider political debates and some difficult budget constraints. So how would you prepare yourself to make informed decisions on issues that you may not necessarily be an expert in? No, they gave me the long question.
Wait, so what would be the disagreement part or?
So it would be like, how would you make decisions? Or how would you make informed decisions with all those other factors coming at you, debates or, other pressure, stuff like that, on issues that you may not necessarily have expertise in?
Well, I think like kind of going back to what I just said, or like even in the emergency room, like we have to make tough decisions all the time. And I think the first thing that you have to do is just kind of look at the entire picture, listen to everyone involved. Like, again, I would go back to like the common theme of like the students are at the interest of our heart and the public schools. And that's where we have to find common ground.
Great.
Thank you.
Natalie, hi. I'm the voice behind the curtain like in Oz.
It's the best of boys.
I'm like,
As you are probably aware, Gordon Smith will be retiring at the end of this school year, and the school committee will be undertaking a professional search to find a replacement. What qualities would you look for in a new superintendent?
that's good question. Let me think here. So I mean, as far as like a superintendent, I first wanted to look into their background, like their education, like prior experience. Thinking as far as like whether they're, I guess I would just look in for all the qualifications education wise and what would they be willing to like contribute to our district? What are their plans with the school? I know like if it's going to be next year, just in general, Massachusetts just went through the Senate with like the bell-to-bell school law. So next for 2026, they're thinking of implementing like a bell-to-bell. So if that was the case, I think the superintendent would have a big say in something like that.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay, Natalie, we've come to the end of the questionings.
Okay.
On behalf of the rest of the school committee and the town council members, thank you so much for your interest and for coming tonight. As you know, had 5 people put their names forward, and we are quite grateful for that. It will be difficult to pick one of the 5. And as I'm doing with everyone else, I certainly would encourage you to stay involved with the schools at any level that you're able to.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi.
Just a quick recap on the process. We'll give you 2 minutes at the beginning to introduce yourself and provide an introduction, and then we'll have 4 questions for you. Yours.
Great. I'm Carrie Jarzabski. I have children who've been through the school system. I'm excited about this opportunity because I said to some of you earlier, I've had a lot of evening commitments and chasing kids around with sports, and now I have the time to actually dedicate to the school committee. My whole professional career has been in education. I started off as a high school English teacher in a neighboring town, and then moved into educational leadership at the college level, primarily helping students transition successfully from high school to college. I just finished my PhD at UMass, where my research was on supporting neurodivergent learners. So I bring experience about what it's like to move from IDEA to ADA, and I have children who also have been on IEPs. So that piece is important to me. As an administrator, I've worked for institutions that have had significant budget deficits, $10 million to $12 million budget deficits. And so I've had to be part of decision-making around finances. I was a college administrator in COVID, so I had to make a lot of decisions around crisis management and policy decisions that weren't always well received, but were necessary decisions. So I have, that experience. I've led different committees. I've been part of cross collaborative committees, and so I bring that experience as well. And I think for me in the role, I'm very student centered, and I think making decisions that are data informed with the students in mind, but also having worked with staff. I think it's important to think about, it's sort of like, on the airplane, you have to put your own oxygen mask on first before you can put them on your children. So I think it's also important to think about how we're making decisions around supporting the staff so that they can create amazing experience for our children.
Great, thank you.
First question. What do you see as the purpose of a public school system, and what is the primary responsibility a student plays in that core purpose?
Yeah, I mean, we want to create a great educational experience for our children that's relevant, that's going to help them to move on to the next phase, whether it's college or work, or again, supporting students with disabilities to be able to have a great life after school. I think school committee is, it's about transparent communication about how decisions have been made and being responsive to your constituents, and being informed about what's going on with DESE and policy as you're reviewing policy, and having knowledge of finance and budget management. And again, this is a year of hiring a new superintendent, so having a sense of what's needed from our staff as well. So it's an important role. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
How would you approach making decisions in areas where your personal values or biases may conflict with the values of the broader school community?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in roles where I've had to make, difficult decisions. And I think for me, it's about listening and understanding and having the data in front of you that supports the decision, and then being really transparent and open in your communication. I think that helps in terms of how decisions are received. And, you're in a particular role and the focus is on a particular thing, which is to create a great learning environment for our children. And so that's the basis for the decision. How is this going to improve or benefit the students and STEM?
Thank you.
Alrighty, hello.
Hi.
So my question is, the school committee can face strong pressures from interest groups, wider political debates, and difficult budget constraints. How would you prepare yourself to make informed decisions on issues that you may not be an expert in?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're never going to know everything about everything. And so, know what's coming to you ahead of time, hopefully, and you have time to, having just done a PhD, you have time to dig around and do some research and get familiar with state policies. And for me, I would want to read as much as I could about the subject to try to be as informed as I could, but also be open and aware of what I don't know.
Thank you.
Great.
Carrie, I have the next question. As you alluded to this in your answer to question number 1, Gordon Smith will be retiring at the end of this school year. So the school committee will have to prepare for a professional search to find a suitable replacement. What qualities would you look for in a new superintendent?
Yeah, well, it's an important role. And I think first I'd look to see about licensure and professional experience. As I said, I think it's important to have someone who is a strong communicator, who has strategic leadership and vision. I think presence is important, being present in the schools, understanding what the day-to-day experience is like for the folks that you're making these important decisions for. It's interesting times. I think if someone has some experience with crisis management, obviously some budgetary experience, staff development. I mean, it's a big job. There's lots of pieces that they hopefully will have some experience with, but I would want to make sure that they've had enough time and tenure in the school system to have a sense of what the day-to-day is like and to be able to do the work. And and a working knowledge of the state, DESE and what's going on in the state.
Good. Thank you very much.
Well, Carrie, we've come to the end of our questioning. On behalf of the members and the town council members, thank you for your interest in coming tonight and answering our questions. As you know, there are 5 people that have shown interest. We are very happy to see that interest. It's good for the town of East Long Meadow to have so many all qualified individuals. As I do for everyone else, I would encourage you to continue to volunteer and help out as much as you can as in the district. And we'll let folks know as soon as we can. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening.
Hello. Hello.
Just as a quick recap on the process, we'll have about 10 minutes and you'll have the first 2 minutes that you can provide an introduction and some background on yourself.
Okay.
And then we'll have 4 questions from the school committee and the council.
Okay, perfect. Well, first and foremost, thank you I know that I am the last one, so it's a little repetitive here, but thank you for considering my letter and for I think you have a great pool of candidates, and out of all of them that I know personally, whoever you pick, I think the board will be well served. I think anybody who is stepping into this role is already going to be really having a mix of valuing volunteerism and serving our community and passion for East Long Meadow, as well as educational knowledge and experience. But I think that I have a mix of all of those, from serving on other community boards, from the library and helping around town, to being engaged with the PTO, direct classroom experience as a former teacher, serving on as a room parent. But I believe what really sets me apart for this role is combining my professional skills with my pastoral and community care skills that come from serving the most vulnerable in our community. That through that experience, from serving those people, I have a heightened awareness of what people are facing and an increased ability to kind of see those needs and respond with empathy and compassion. And that certainly applies to their academic needs as well as a holistic family approach. In terms of serving on the board, it allows me to approach and see families all across socioeconomic, academic, and cultural differences that East Long Meadow does have, and properly advocate on behalf in a measured and balanced way. As a former teacher, I recognize the needs of our teachers to furnish their own classroom supply closets, use high quality curriculum, and to see the whole student as an individual person. As a mom of an advanced child, I recognize the need for better programming for our gifted students in town. And on the flip side, as a former foster parent of a high special needs student, that really required special care, I recognize the need for passionate staff members and advocacy from the whole team. As a room parent and PTO member, I certainly recognize our needs for our paraprofessionals and aides helping with individual needs in the classroom and classroom management, but also for collaboration between families and teachers. As a nonprofit CEO, I recognize for the needs of the budgets to be reasonable and balanced and to stay within those parameters. And as a pastor to many hurting people in our community, I recognize the needs for our schools to be safe places for our children and staff members. I'm passionate about joining the school board to be able to make sure all of those needs are being addressed. And one of the voices of our community is all of the voices of our community are being heard and valued. So thank you.
Action.
Well, thank you for the first question. The question is, what do you see as the core purpose of a public school system, and what's the primary responsibility a school committee plays?
Yeah. Core purpose of the whole education system, public school. So
think first to provide a quality education that's setting up the success for the student's future, but not minimizing their current needs. So not negating that in order for them to have a successful future, that they need to be able to learn. And so in order to learn in that moment, their needs need to be met where they're at now. So for example, if a student goes to school hungry, they're not going to be able to learn. So in order to, have a successful day, those physical needs to be able to be met before the education ones need. So the school has to be able to see the whole student. So see that their future self, but also their current struggles and where they're at right now. And so the role of the school is to predict where they can go and dream with them for their future, but also be realistic of here's where you're struggling right now.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
How would you approach making decisions in areas where your personal values or biases may conflict with the values of the broader school community?
Yeah, great question. I have a high priority of listening. And I think that when we can slow down and listen first and listen to everyone's so if we're coming to approach a problem or to tackle an issue, listening to all sides, to be slow to react and think about long-term rather than reactionary planning can usually help negate some of those hot tempers or slow down my own maybe biased thinking or my own prejudice. When I hear someone's individual story, when I listen to their life experiences, when I hear where they're coming from, it's no longer my own preconceived notions, but I actually have a face to go with that story and a reality to go with that truth and be able to blend in both of those things. And so think through things logically and put aside what I am bringing to the table and examine everybody's input and be a listener before a contributor.
Thank you.
All righty. So my question is, so the school committee can face strong pressures from interest groups or wider political debates and difficult budget constraints. So the question is, how would you prepare yourself to be informed about these decisions, especially on issues that you may not be expert in?
Yeah. Well, first, I think the internet has a wealth of information, and I think that we have to be willing to acknowledge that we don't have all of the information ourselves, and so willing to learn and to do research and acknowledge where you're getting your information from first, but then be willing to kind of step out of that comfort and asking, maybe reaching out to other towns or other co-collaborators' opinions and understanding that they have more knowledge or more information than maybe we're bringing to the table, and humbling ourselves in order to ask for help to gain that insight when coming to that.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Michelle. I have the next question. You're probably aware that Superintendent Smith will be retiring at the end of this upcoming school year, which will then require the school committee to undertake a professional search for a successor. My question is, what qualities would you look for in a new superintendent?
So as a former teacher, a superintendent is someone that I have thought about quite a bit. And did not work in East Long Meadow, so I'll slam on this. I worked in a different district in Massachusetts. I was able to examine this and seeing some good qualities and some bad qualities in that superintendent. I think positive qualities is a lifelong learner, someone that is willing to think out of the box, be a problem solver, be able to see the whole student and the whole family, not just the academic needs, but again, addressing the entire family situation that's happening, understanding that their school and their school whole body is a community and treating it like that the classroom is a safe space because it is created that way. It's not just automatic that there has to be from top down policies put in place to allow that physical safety and mental safety in order to allow everyone in there to flourish. Integrity and social emotional intelligence, and willing to keep expanding and changing the way that things are done. Just because education and classrooms were operated in one way doesn't mean that they have to continue to be that way. And some of our best success stories or most empowering educational movies that we might watch are because teachers were willing to take risks or principals were willing to, advanced certain out of the box thinking. And so finding a superintendent that's willing to take risks and willing to take chances on certain ways of doing things is what I would look for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Michelle, we've come to the end of the interview. On behalf of the rest of the school committee members and the town council members, we all want to say thank you for coming and giving us some of your time. As you know, there are 5 people, and you alluded to this at the very beginning, and I would concur with you that any of the 5 would certainly fit right in. So again, thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck is right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we have now concluded the 5 interviews. The downside is now it's the difficult choice of going through each of them and making a decision. I think the process for this, if everyone's agreeable to it, is we'll have some time if anyone wants to share any particular thoughts that they put out to them in the interviews. And then we could do either just a nomination and vote, or we could have each person make a nomination on someone that they liked, and then whomever got the most likes at the end will make the formal vote to nominate and appoint.
What?
Yes. Preference on the procedure?
I anticipate that we may be able to come to one motion, but I think if we have some discussion, maybe that will change. But should we head in that direction, perhaps?
Sure, we can head in the discussion.
So through the chair.
Sure.
So my thought is we go around the room and basically say who our number 1 pick would be. Obviously, if there's 6 people that have said the same name, then we make a motion to nominate that person. But my fear is if we nominate one person to begin with, it pretty much pushes everything towards that person.
Yeah, and I would say that we open conversation to all first before the nomination is made, as was my point.
Yep.
Great.
Does anyone want to kick off the discussion?
Antonella does.
All right, I'll kick it off. I have all my notes. I thought all of the candidates did a really great job. I was really impressed with how they all answered question 4 about qualities of a superintendent. So I do feel like people are paying attention, and it's something that I think our community is really thinking about, because it is a really big decision and could really impact our schools depending on who we put in there. I think that Natalie stood out to me. She spoke about putting the students first in a lot of her answers. And that's basically, I mean, that's the number 1 factor that I also think of when I'm basing any of our decisions on any of the school department. So. Yeah.
William?
Well, now I know what the Wizard of Oz felt like when I was on the other side of right here. So and I do appreciate the work you guys did, because it seemed like a lot. For me, I was torn. I was torn between 2 of the candidates. I thought, again, they all did well. I thought they all answered the questions well, and and these are some difficult questions. For me, it was Katie. I loved her answers. I loved her takeaway about education and students and the common good. But I won't deny that Natalie really, she kind of struck a chord with me, and it could have been the educational side, but just being able to reel off a lot of the thoughts about what we were doing and how we were doing it. I'm sorry. I'm off today. I'm really off, and I need to keep my glasses on. Carrie, she was the one that had the doctoral student. She was able to list off her, the expertise, the transportation, the debt. She talked about DESE. She talked about management. She even started leaning into the question about number 4 even before we asked. I think she might have been the only one that talked about licensure, and some budget constraints. That just kind of really, those two are my top 2. Who? I'm not sure, but those are my top 2.
Great. Any thoughts?
This is the worst part. Awful. I think all 5 of these women are highly competent individuals.
Yes.
William, I happen to have the same 2 individuals as my 2 standouts, Katie and Carrie. I think Katie's background, she spoke a lot about her background in education, but she has seen, she has perspective from several different vantage points. I liked Carrie's, and I also liked her answer specifically about working with our union, specifically our teachers union. Carrie's answers, I thought they were really all encompassing and really showed how much she values the whole child. The way that she spoke about our willingness to research also stood out to me. So those stood out as my top 2.
Anything, Anna?
Oh,
Well, I mean, if you want to save to last, I don't know if you wanted to go
I
last.
can save to last.
If I get to last,
Sure.
Yeah.
I think my 2 standouts would be Carrie. Oh gosh, she's the PhD.
Mhm.
Yes, okay, want to make sure I'm saying the right name. And also Natalie. I think Carrie, I think the way I'm looking at it is the 4 of you kind of have the teacher kind of role covered. And I feel like when I'm looking at Carrie or Natalie is a PA, so she's totally has different perspective than you guys, than current committee going. And then if you wanted to kind of stick with more of a teacher educational background, then I think Carrie did amazing. So I think what you guys are looking for, or what we're all looking for, might be what helps me make my decision. Like, are we looking for a different perspective? Are we kind of sticking with I don't want to say same old perspective, but same kind of general area? That's.
For me, to answer your question.
I thought you were saying second to last.
I certainly can. I was trying to answer your question.
Oh, okay.
I think it's important to have a working knowledge from the get-go of this process to some extent, because they're going to be asked to jump right in and the term is short. And so I would personally value more experience and knowledge about education than an outsider, being an outsider that I am. So I don't know if that helps you answer.
It wasn't really a question. I was just saying, my topic.
And you should have told me to stop it early on. Okay. But anyway.
But that's my thought process.
Understood.
So.
Yep.
I'll save myself to last, so I
of
don't
course you do.
bias anyone.
Debate anything I say. Okay, when I look at the makeup of the current school committee, it's like the makeup of the council. We each bring different gifts and talents to the table. And I think an important feature of a committee is balance. We would like to see individuals bring different perspectives to the process. Everybody that came here this evening can do the job. if you're smart, if you're interested, you read, you study, you can do the job. You don't have to have a PhD or a college education, really, you can do the job. And so I look at how the committee will benefit by any decision going forward. Hey, I don't dispute anything anybody said. I have two choices too. And my first choice is Kathy Hood. And the reason why I zero in on Kathy is she's given a great deal of her time and talent to this community for a long time. And she knows the district. There isn't anyone on the school committee that has, in fact, I don't remember the last time someone's been on the school committee who actually worked within the district. We have educators outside of the district bringing important pieces of information to the table, but not within the district. She knows East Long Meadow. She knows school department. She knows the issues that have come up before us over time. She's also retired, so she's seasoned. And I think that brings a different perspective to, and I would say that because I'm seasoned, but she brings a different perspective to the process. As far as Carrie, all the wonderful things we've said about her, I absolutely agree with. So those would be my two choices. That's it.
Thank you, Marilyn. Ralph.
I'm going to agree quite a bit with Marilyn. I think all the candidates did a fantastic job, and whoever is chosen will do a great job. You know, I was leaning towards Kathy Hood. I like the fact that she's retired and will be able to dedicate a lot of time because, as you know, being on the school committee takes a lot of time. She has a lot of knowledge within the schools. She's dealt with stuff, so she knows from a teacher's perspective what she would like to see the school committee be able to help out with. But I will say Carrie did a absolute blowout job on the interview. Her answers were pristine. Her knowledge was incredible. Those would be the two that I would be trying to choose in between. But like I said, I think anyone we choose will do a great job.
I was really happy to see that. I feel we got an increase of candidates, and I think that's good to have more choices and whatnot. I think, like what everybody said, I think all five are more than qualified to jump right onto the school committee. I think we have a unique situation too, compared to past appointments that we've done, because we have the superintendent search. We have obviously the budget, and then we're going to have a new school soon enough that's going to be opening up. So thinking about this, trying to determine, what does the committee have currently, and maybe what is it lacking, or what it could leverage and have in those type of discussions and things that are going to come up. So to me, I was going back and forth between Kathy Hood and Carrie. I thought Carrie did a really good job on the interview. I remember Miss Hood from when I was in Birchland Park Middle School. She was a teacher. I'm not sure, Connor, she might have been your teacher as well. And we have a really good set. I mean, I love pretty much all of my teachers through the East Long Meadow Public School System. We have a really great group of teachers. I know, I think things have probably changed since me and Connor have been there. But I think having that experience of being from the district, I think is an important asset on top of that educator perspective as well. I did like that Carrie came from a sort of different perspective of education, that collegiate level, because we're going to, high school is a lot about preparing most of those students. A lot of them will go to community college or full 4-year college, or maybe a doctoral degree or something of their own. So having that experience is also an asset. But I was really impressed, I think, with all 5 of them, because they all had slightly different backgrounds, even if majority of them were. So.
Yeah.
Echoing pretty much what everybody in this room has already said, I guess my top two, I was kind of looking at, similarly looking at different perspectives. Natalie kind of fit that T. to me in terms of just a different discipline, different perspective coming to the school committee. But I also thought Carrie was head and shoulders, a little bit above everybody else in terms of her responses. So those would be the two that I'm kind of looking at.
Great. Thanks, Jim.
Kathy, or Kathy.
Oh, Kathy.
Trying to shut me out. I won't be redundant because I would simply be echoing all of your introductions. There were two who stood out to me, very much so Carrie, but also Kathy. She understands the culture of the district, and she understands the culture of the town. She's grown up and grown through both of those. And I think, given the fact that she's retired and has the time to put forward to it, would be an asset. She's very measured in her thinking. She's not easily incited to, be off the handle. And I'm not suggesting any of the others are, but I'm speaking about what I think are her strengths. And she knows, she's lived it. She knows what the district needs going forward, the school district.
Thank you, Kathy. Would you like to?
Did you keep a tally?
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
So I think some consensus is evolving, right? Probably down to two, I would say. Did two pop up?
We are. Yeah.
What are those two?
Three.
So
Is there
Oh,
three?
four, okay.
Yeah. If we go by numbers so far before you and I share our opinion, we're at Carrie with the most consensus and Kathy Hood with the second most.
Right. So I think we're there. We're close to that. Yep. So I would just leave it at that for now. If you wanted to.
Yeah, I'll share my thoughts too. I agree with everyone that I would be happy with any of the candidates that we interviewed. I think they'll all do a great job. I think about a different direction. I had three that were kind of top of my mind. I agreed with Kathy Hood and that she's grown up here and been part of the district. Definitely has a lot of experience within East Long Meadow. I liked Katie as well, in part because of some of the answers she gave around history and doing some research and getting involved and figuring out things that she may not be as familiar with. But then certainly Carrie had a lot of great answers, and I think she has a broad experience in a bunch of different areas that will probably be beneficial to the school committee over the next year looking for a superintendent, because there's a lot of areas that you'll want to find out about the candidates, and I think she's had some experience in each of them to know how to ask some of those questions.
Agreed. Yeah.
You could have talked too.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I agree with a lot of what you said. I don't have to.
So tell us.
No, I mean, I, if you want my opinion, I think Carrie answered most thoroughly with the most understanding of what we are looking at in the future, an understanding of budgets, policy, DESE, schools, higher education. Again, all of them, we could pick any of them. I know that and work well with them. But that would be my response.
Great.
So now the tough part is a motion.
Well,
Well, what were the
We
tallies?
had 2, 3.
why don't,
We had 10 people say
For
Carrie's
Carrie.
name.
Okay.
We had
She probably.
5 people
Yeah.
say Kathy Hood's name, 2 for Katie, 3 for Natalie, and no one for Phil.
I think through the chair, maybe it would be.
Yeah, mostly because we were
picking who that preference between those final two candidates. Well, be.
No, it was,
It's mimic.
we were determining it by this.
Yeah.
So that's who it is
thing comes in
and votes.
under those, some of you mentioned other candidates.
Right.
So you may choose, Kathy instead of Carrie. So my suggestion would be we basically go through and say, who would your final vote? be?
Between those.
I would say we make a motion and vote on it and it either
Right.
a majority or it won't.
So if I make a motion to nominate Kathy Hood, the problem comes in is then you're choosing to vote against someone. I would rather see you go around, and if there's someone that gets
If it's still 10 to, you know.
And I think potentially we could come to consensus pretty quick here. I mean, I think we're already there, no?
It says 10.
Can we entertain a motion? Would you entertain that now?
Entertain that.
Somebody want to move?
I would make. a
Ralph,
motion.
what point of information? Ralph he already moved.
That's what I started with.
Oh,
Yeah, I said I make a motion that we nominate Kathy Hood.
I thought you were phrasing it as a question.
I know,
I thought you were-
sorry, I didn't, I thought you were.
Apologize.
Well,
Yeah, so I don't think there's a question on the floor yet.
did you make a motion?
Yeah.
That was I make a motion that we nominate Kathy Hood for the position.
Second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? It is a roll call vote. Kathy?
Kathy Hood.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes. I should have said it. Yeah. Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ralph?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
I am a no.
No.
Anna?
no.
Greg?
No.
No.
So it's
That's-
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Six.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think we have enough.
No, we don't.
Already there?
No.
Okay, is there another motion?
I
Make a motion to nominate, Carrie Parker.
That
Yeah.
There's that.
Carrie Parker, George. Yeah.
That.
There's apps.
I'll second.
Take the easy way out.
Motion has been made to nominate Carrie. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion. Kathy?
No.
Jim?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ralph?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Anna?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
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 Mr. President, I will change my answer to yes in the spirit of professional consensus.
Thank you, Kathy. Motion passes. Thank you all.
She's still here.
She's still here.
Yes, they're outside, so we'll let them.
Would you like?
Bring them all?
No, we don't have to bring them all. We're gonna.
No, we'll do it after we adjourn.
We're done.
Good.
So if the school committee would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Yes. I have a motion to adjourn, please.
Second.
Motion made by William, second by Amy. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you all, council members, appreciate your time and your efforts.
You.
We're up and running.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn the special town council meeting?
So moved.
So move.
Seconded. Any further discussions?
Right.
Seeing none. Kathy?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ralph?
Yes.
I'm a yes. And Anna?
It's this tan that she's.
Are you adjourning? Yes.
Yeah, it's.
Okay, adjourned at
A little of that.
What do you want?